Philippines has a big problem right now, and it's an all-encompassing problem, and I'll explain. So it's been over the news for the last couple of days. The two Philippine boats that were blocked and water cannoned by Chinese ships on their own water, right? So two Philippine supply boats on a resupply mission were blocked and water cannoned by the Chinese Coast Guard. Now, the side reports the military's Western Command said the Philippine boats were on their way to transport food supplies to Filipino soldiers that were on the island. And no one was hurt, but the boats had to turn around. I remind China that a public vessel is covered by the Philippines, and this is the problem. This is not you're using a public vessel to resupply because you won't send your own navy, and that is the whole issue going on. But there's more than an issue that is involved in everything that's being entangled, and I'll explain. Now, the Philippines condemns this act, of course, and that's by Deloxen. That was the previous picture he saw. He actually went and he visited the troops, and he's the one that's doing all the diplomatic protest. He's the one, like I said, visiting troop. He's the one trying to raise the morale. He's the only one in the Philippine government that's actually trying to do anything. Meanwhile, Duterte, this whole entire, we want to call it coronavirus, this whole entire lockdown, the last 2 years has been doing nothing but praising China. Duterte is supposed to be the president of the Philippines, but he seems to be more focused on kissing Chinese butt. And he's doing nothing saying that Filipinos own China, that, China is this great, wonderful country, and he's not the only one. And some people in his administration were talking bad about the white countries. They were calling them colonists. And it just gets worse and it gets worse. I mean, you could look at one news article after another. They praise the constructive, peaceful talks. Scholars praise Duterte, which is only Manila time. I'm not going to get into China times. But you're going to find a lot of articles where Duterte is just flat out, blatantly praising China. Right? But now, all of a sudden, now they want to dangle the treaty with the United States against China. Now they're starting to see the pettiness of their knee pad in China, that they're starting to lose territory. First, China ships were just 200 miles off most Philippine islands. Then they took some islands, the smaller ones. Then it became 100 miles out. Then it became 50. Now they're within 2 and taking more. They just keep pushing themselves in, pushing themselves in, pushing themselves in. And now, Philippines are like, uh-oh, I think we screwed up a little bit, right? And this Locsin Jr. is the only one in the Philippine government that's trying to do something. Warn China that a public Philippine vessel is covered by the Philippine United Nations, right? But you got to stop that public vessel stuff. When you resupply to your military, you bring in military ships and they get escorted. That was your first mistake. You don't use public. But they're so afraid to send the military out there. They're so afraid to defend their own country. That's why China keeps taking it. They have no respect for the Philippines. But makes it even worse, so because they didn't have a strong response when the vessels of the Philippines, private or military, was attacked by Chinese Coast Guard, China sent all kinds of ships even closer. They're going to an island that's owned by the Philippines, and they were spotted by planes. And of course, when the planes fly over, the Chinese government does everything but threaten them. So they bring more fishing vessels, most Coast Guards in, blocking own Philippine fishermen, right? And there wasn't too long ago, the Philippine government was saying that, maybe we need to spend $500 billion buying fish from other countries to put in our markets over here to help lower fish prices. Well, that wouldn't happen if you're allowed to fish in your own damn territory to begin with. So yeah, these are Chinese vessels. They flew over, they took a picture, and it's just getting worse and worse. Philippine government response, only Locsin goes and visits the troops. Duterte didn't say anything for 2 damn days. 2 days it took him. Just a side note, one of the things I find funny is that the Philippine government will use the Hague ruling over the West Filipino Sea, saying, yeah, that is Philippine property, obviously. Chinese have no business there. But when it comes to the drug war, they tell the ICC, the International Criminal Court, the Hague, you don't have any authority in the Philippines. That's how China's acting. China's saying the same thing. Nah, I'm just going to ignore the criminal courts. Look, you can't have your foot on one side of the line and change it and go to the other side of the line when it's convenient for you. You need to have your foot on one side of the line the whole entire time. And it don't matter where the outcome lines up, that's where your moral standards should be. And there's a serious moral standards going on now with the president. So, Duterte has many Chinese friends. He doesn't have a lot of Filipino friends, a lot of Filipino allies. So Michael Yang, if you don't know who he was supposed to be part of this pharmaceutical group, and Congress wanted to investigate and talk to him, and he did everything he could, Duterte here, did everything he could to stop Congress, Philippine Congress, from indicting him, from talking to him, to investigating him. And long story short, during this whole entire outbreak, the government made contracts with Chinese. They made contracts with him while ignoring Philippine companies that were cheaper or more local. So Duterte has a long history of selling out Philippines for China. It is a lot of Duterte's friends, to be honest, are starting to come up corrupt. Even his own daughters and some of the people she worked for were just caught with the drug raid, right? And now there's questions about Duterte's loyalty, and it's starting to become obvious. Even though Duterte draws 75% support from the people, it's starting to become obvious whether or not those people are starting to care who exactly is running the country. Now, I made a story before about how Duterte is brought and paid for by China, how China was laughing their butt off, and other politicians are starting to question Duterte's links with China. Why in the world didn't you have, So if you're a Filipino, and we're going to talk about this for a second, okay? I'll put my face up. So if you're a Filipino, and seeing how 75% of the Filipinos think that they should support Duterte, right? It comes a question like, are you supporting yourself? So when you have Chinese friends with the president, and he's using them for contracts, hiring China for contracts, construction contracts, he's putting you out of work, right? So when you hire a Chinese pharmaceutical company that comes in and they deliberately overprice stuff and they profit the difference, when you could have used Filipino factories, it makes you wonder and question where his loyalty is. You won't find any pictures too much of Duterte with troops. So why is it Locsin, if I'm saying his name right, I'm really bad with names, going to visit the troops, but the Philippine president isn't? Why is it you're sending supply ships that are non-military to go deliver military goods, food? Why ain't you using your own Navy? There was a report not long ago about how the Coast Guard, the military, Navy, and Air Force, they're not communicating real good. Duterte's not even worked on it. There was a literal report about how the armed services in the Philippines are not talking and communicating. So you as a Filipino, you need to start paying attention just a little bit more. You understand? Because they keep taking these islands and they keep taking these islands and they're building military bases. What do you think those bases are going to be used for? Do you understand when China takes over the Philippines, there's no more internet. Not like we have now. There's no more freedoms. When you go to school, if they let your kids go to school, which they eventually might, there's no more Philippine history. You're going to learn Chinese history. There's no more speaking English. There's no more speaking Tagalog. Your kids are going to learn Chinese. They're already doing that in China with Mongolia and a few other instances. Even Mayor Isco, who's running for president now, he had to stop a Chinese contractor in his own Manila from building. The Chinese contractor comes, he sees some property he likes, but there's a couple homeless people living in there. He goes, he bullies them, beats them out of there, wrecks the place, takes a tractor, wrecks the whole entire road. He doesn't even have the license, didn't file for construction paperwork or nothing, just took it upon himself to do it because he was Chinese. He thought he was unstoppable. Chinese factories come in, they start producing shampoos and hair things in the Philippines. Instead of saying it's made in the Philippines, what do they put? It's a district. Philippines is a district of China. Then you have some American companies like Netflix, which I reported on. Same thing. Look what they were doing. Bowing to China. Something wrong with our world leaders, starting with Duterte. Joe Biden was been president for a year. Trump didn't do nothing for 4 years for Philippines, which I can understand why there'd be hatred. Trump turned his back on the Philippines for 4 years. I know there's a lot of Trump supporters out there. You don't like hearing the truth, but tough crap. I'm not a Democrat. You're not going to bully me out of line. So now, you Filipinos are going to have to sit there and you're going to have to think long and hard. How far are you going to let the Chinese push in? Now some of you are talking about Bongo and Sir Duterte? Like they ain't brought by China. Your stupidity is going to be your own undoing. When are you going to think? When are you going to do your research? My wife's own sister said she was going to vote for Bongo. I told her about China plenty of times. Didn't hit. It's not hitting. It's not hitting here where it counts. Mayor Isco is the only one I think that's tough for China, but I don't think he's even tough enough. Right now, I don't see a clear candidate that's going to get China off the Philippines' back. And if they do declare war in Taiwan, you sure in hell they're going to come for the Philippines. They don't care about you. They come to this country and act stupid. Granted, some Americans have. I just read about an American Air Force veteran, the stupid idiot, making drugs. And not just a little bit. We're talking about Breaking Bad type of drugs. Barrel loads. American veteran in the Philippines acting stupid. That's what pisses me off too. Because now you made America look stupid. You as a veteran going to come to the Philippines and you're going to manufacture drugs? See, when you do stuff like that, people see what America does and they automatically jump to China. They don't see what China does. Especially with Manila Times. They're never going to run a proper article about China. But you know what? The only country on earth that will defend the Philippines and spill blood is America. Even me. I would spill my blood for Filipinos even if you're too stupid to do it yourself. I'll still do it. I have to call you stupid because I'm wondering when some of you are going to wake up and start getting a little bit more angry about what's going on. Because some of you are losing jobs to China. Well, we had a 25% unemployment rate. I'm watching one store after another come and close down. They can't make it. Some of it had to do with the virus. Some of it had to do with because they lost their job to Chinese contractors who are going to work with China. They're not going to hire you. Some Philippine congressmen said China, they can hire who they want. That was an actual conversation that took place. When Chinese contractors come in, should they hire China? And some congressmen said they could hire what they want. They're their own company. And a few others that are against China said no, they should hire Filipinos first. Well, duh. Yeah. But where was Duterte? Days late, after Locsin already visit the island, then he's going to come out 2 days later and say, well, you know, Chinese vessels, that was bad. We're going to have to condone it. What do you mean we? You invited him here. You're the one bringing China on us. You're the one that's inviting war because you have a very weak stance against China. And now you're scrambling for allies? Did you realize just a year ago the Philippines was trying to get rid of the American Act, the Defense Act? They were literally trying to get rid of it. But now they're really like, oh, thank God we got it. So you didn't want to use your brain a year ago, but you're lucky things fell through the way they did, huh? See, Duterte, when you are the president of the Philippines, your first and foremost job is Filipinos, not China. You should never sign a contract with them to make those medical goods. You should have signed it with Philippine companies first. That's common damn sense. Then you're going to get mad at Congress for pointing that out to you? Tough. Tough. It was your decision. You have to be responsible for it. But you're going to have to let other people go and visit the troops before you do? Because you're too scared? That's your doing. And 75% of you that sit there and support Duterte day in, day out, You don't think. You're not thinking. You don't think about the consequences. I can only do so much for you. Yeah, I'll give my blood, but let's face it, when China lands in Manila, which they're planning to as it seems, they're going to come for all us foreigners. There's over 2,000 or 3,000 veterans here, at least, in Manila Island alone. I think Cebu, smaller island, has just as much. Most people love Cebu. They're going to come for us and they're going to kill us. Or they're going to put us in prison camps because we're a threat. They don't consider you a threat because you don't do nothing. I mean, look when your own woman, when your own mothers, your own daughters, your own wives start getting kidnapped, raped, you don't do nothing, do you? You sit there and you just watch on your bikes like I pointed out. You can't even protect your own woman. So where's the Philippine man? Locsin's a man. He wouldn't visit the troops and he landed the plane despite Chinese warning. That's a man. That's what the president should have done. Not him, the president. But he doesn't want to anger his friend Xi. And 75% of you are supporting this because you're dumb. And you need to wake up. I'm trying to tell you this because I love you and I'm trying to get you to focus a little bit better, trying to get you to understand how these world politics are playing out, because sooner or later that's not going to be a Philippine flag planted. It's going to be a China flag. Your food will be limited. You will be a slave. There will be no more Philippine cops. They're going to bring their own people in. And they will beat you. They will take some of the pretty girls and do whatever they want with them. They killed their own woman over there. There's stories after stories coming out of China where a woman might be living in the same house 20 years. Construction company wants to come make it a bigger condo so richer people move in. She won't move, so they beat her to death. You find 100 stories on that. But Manila Times will have you believe China is this great place. So I'm going to ask again, you as a Filipino man, when are you going to be one? You guys protest the stupidest dang stuff since I've been here. Oh my Jesus. The amount of protest that is stupid here on the stupidest damn things. And the one thing that should ignite every one of you, at least 75% of you should be protesting, is China. The CCP. They have no respect for you because you don't have any respect for yourselves. So when are you going to grow up? It's time.